welcome back. This is Mac again with Girish and Carmen. Today again, we are going to talk about key strategies to endure in business and life. Last time we spoke about vision and then we spoke about planning. But we also discussed something related to planning, that do we need to be rigid in our plans or can we be flexible in the planning? And I think in current times, flexibility is the word. And this is something that personally I grapple with because I plan a lot, but I'm not at all flexible in my planning. I'm extremely rigid. So this is something that I'm actually wanting to discuss with and talk with Girish and Carmen about. How do they bring in flexibility in their sporting careers, especially in IronMan or mountaineering? So let's start with Girish.
Thanks, Mac. Thanks, Carmen. Flexibility. I don't think so. There is any plan which cannot be flexible, right? So I think we all are going through this whole unprecedented challenge of COVID. I think who planned for this, right? One fine day, I think we were lucky that we could finish our race on March 7th and come back from New Zealand, and we know that when we reach back home in next 4 days, New Zealand was locked down. And when we did that life-changing race, Ironman, and when Mike, the celebrity commentator of Ironman, who just people die to listen from his voice that you are an Ironman, and who knew that this is going to happen. So flexibility is key, and without being flexible, I don't think so you can ever achieve any goal or any plan. So for me, I think being flexible is a key to success, and maybe that your environment forces you to be flexible, or any small element forces you to be flexible. And like our friend Carmen said last time, being kind, all to bring in kindness, you need to be flexible. So you need to take 2-day break, which was not planned, but you need to take that 2-day break because your body told you that you can't push it further. That's how it is. So in I have to tell you this. When I was training for my Ironman, we had this rigid training plan for 6 months. Tuesdays you need to swim, Wednesdays you need to cycle, Thursdays you need to do a cycle and a run, and so on and so forth. So and you always feel that you need to just follow that. And one fine day, here comes a very important travel, and you need to go to, say, Delhi or wherever the work takes you, and finish. So you look out for a hotel which has got a swimming pool so that you can swim, but least that that swimming pool is more of a place where all the kids are splashing water. So all that you can do is you can't do anything about it. So and there is no point in getting worked up saying that you missed your training plan. So all that you need to tell yourself is that I'm going to bounce back. I'm going to go and back and see on weekends how can I incorporate this. So these are some small things, and when you plan for everything, on the race day something else happens, right? You have a flat tire, or you're putting your wetsuit and your zip just comes out. Anything can happen, right? So you need to be very flexible. You need to plan for everything that can go wrong, and you need to be very clear that your plan is going to fail, and you need to replan, and that's the success. So one needs to be very flexible as far as planning is concerned.
So thanks, Girish. I think, yeah, you're right. And the interesting example that you're putting on your wetsuit and your zipper comes off. And I don't know what you do in that situation, but I don't want to know. But I'm sure you had a plan B to take care of that. Yeah. I like I said, I'm a little rigid on going off plan. But recently I watched, and I wanted to bring in this element before I bring in Carmen to speak about her experience, is I just completed watching Last Dance, the NBA special for Michael Jordan and Chicago Bulls. And they plan to the T, as in they have plans for if something goes wrong to this plan, what's the next plan and the next plan. So, and in basketball, we all know that last few seconds, even a tight game, are very, very crucial. And last few seconds are 1 second and 1.5 seconds, not 1 minute or 10 seconds. It's very, very narrow and very tight. And they have a play which they call it. So what is the strategy, or what is the plan if we have to dunk at the point of 1 second or 2 seconds? So they have plays of who is going to dribble the ball, who's going to give it to whom, and who's going to hoop. And that's brilliant. So I think while having plans to plans or backup plans can be a way of being flexible, isn't it? So I think for
Absolutely.
me, I am looking at that as a way of planning a little more. So I'm flexible in following a plan, but it was on the plan. So I am still doing what I want to do. So
Absolutely. In fact, this whole Ironman, there's so many stories. I'm telling you, this was a first time life changing experience. So we had planned everything. We were four of us going from Bombay. So there was a friend of mine who was like you, Makarand. He had started planning 6 months back, and he had planned everything. We'll hire a car from Auckland. We go to Taupo, and just and this whole COVID thing started in China and Singapore much before, right? By Feb end. So
correct.
moment they started, this friend of mine started telling me that Girish, I don't think so. It's safe to travel over Singapore. So I said, no, you must come, you must come. And like the luck had it, he decided to opt out, because he had some issues at work, and so I didn't want to drive alone, so I had no transport to go from Auckland to Taupo. All the buses were booked, all the flights were booked, so I had to spend a huge amount of money to hire a taxi. But you cannot be getting worked up with that, and there are a lot of people around you, mind you, will play with your mind saying, oh, you spent $100 to do. I said, when you have spent so much to reach here, not the money, but you have trained for 10 years, I think this $100 is nothing. So you need to just go with that whole thing. And I remember, swimming was my strength, as you said, and it was a lake swim. And I was looking forward to the swim, and in the pool I was giving a timing of 120, 125. So I wanted to do it 5 minutes better. And my coach had planned that I will finish the race in 15 hours. Nothing went as per plan. So my swim, I took 133, which was, I was so disappointed because something happened at the start. Somebody clinged on to me because it's a mass start, and I had not slept for 3 days. So I didn't push myself on the bike. But the whole thing was the final vision and the goal that I will not, I need to cross that finish line smiling, at before 17 hours. And I did it in 16 hours, 1 hour probably later than what I planned, but did it very nicely. And I was smiling all the way. There was no cramps, there was nothing, and could get that tricolor with me and cross the finish line. So that's, I think one has to learn to be flexible, and one has to learn to face anything. I think our next topic is very interesting, and I don't want to preempt it, but I think that's all about planning. Yeah.
So, thanks, lovely, Girish. Yes, Carmen.
Yeah, wow, oh, it's inspiring stories. And it reminds me of the fact that I used to be very rigid. Whatever didn't go according to my plan was the end of the world. Yet, yeah, I guess sports really shifted something in me. And even if the hyperachiever was still there, was learning that I cannot have control over everything. uh, and as we see what's happening in the world every day, actually we can't have control. I love when I work with my clients, they say I want to learn to have control over. It's like, well, you are always going to be disappointed because you can't have control over everything. Though we can have control to a large extent upon one thing: the way we adapt and the way we respond to whatever is going on. And what I love about sports, and what Girish also shared, is it's important to have a vision. It's important to have a plan. It's important to have plan B, C, D, E, F, though you cannot really plan for absolutely everything.
Yep.
You can't even imagine what can happen, right? Um, I think what is really important is to keep in mind the fact that you train so much, you plan so much, you have your vision, that you will find the way to move forward whatever is going to happen. And this for me was really a big learning and moving forward. And uh, in terms of sports, was so interesting when I went on Mont Blanc. I was feeling pretty fit, so I evolved a lot from my 200 meters running. I was running now. I was almost ready for a marathon, for my first marathon. And then I was training in my building. I was training on the stairs, because you need to have stairs. And I planned the equipment, and I planned everything. And then the first thing that didn't go according to the plan was when we got to the last point before the final ascent. Was very, very, very steep. And I knew Mac and Girish, probably also you've seen my picture with that huge backpack and everything. And I didn't plan that that's going to be heavy going like this. And I was totally panicking. After sleeping for a while, I could rest, and then was the final ascent, and I was totally tired. Then the first instinct was frustration. I was like, I'm fit, I'm training for a marathon, I've been training for this, I've been planning for this for so long. What's happening? And then I remembered what a friend told me. When you are so tired, count your steps from 1 to 10 or 1 to 20. And I've been counting my steps in all the languages I knew, just to be able to keep myself sane and keep on moving. So this was for me adapting to what was there, because I was never there. I didn't know how my body is behaving above 4,000 meters. I thought that I'm fit, and I made it. Yet I had very much to adapt. And this was also another learning, is that taking one step at a time, because we might plan, we might see the vision, but when we look so far ahead, it's like, wow, that's too far. How am I going to make it? But if I have those steps, now I have to make only 20 steps, and then I can stop for 10 seconds, and then I make another 20 steps. That's so important. So this is being flexible. And now I remember another flexible moment. The last marathon that I ran, I'm, as I said, I ran it for pleasure more, but this time I was running for a charity, and I felt a lot of pressure because I was raising money for them, and it was an important cause for me, and I really wanted to finish. Yet I was feeling some pain in my foot, and I thought that I'm gonna have tendonitis. I had it a few months before, and it was a week before the marathon. I said, well, what can I do? I can't stop, really. If I stop now, I just need to, I don't know. And then finally my wise voice came and said, well, adapt. And that was, I instead of running, I did cycling, because was still cardio, was still using the muscles, not the same muscles, but still I was doing something active. So I've been cycling instead of running, saving my foot and saying, well, for sure, if something happens, it will happen during the race and not before, just before the race. And again, it's being flexible. And if I wouldn't have been flexible, I wouldn't have been able to move forward. And the same happened in everything almost I do in business, because I tried to be rigid and follow the plan, and when things were not going right, I was like, oh, and my whole energy was drained by me being frustrated because things are not going according to the plan. But if I tap into, I planned for so long, I trained for so long, I know what I'm doing. Self-trust is one important thing.
Absolutely.
Self-trust, and again we come back to kindness, being kind, and instead of saying, oh, how can you be so weak now, but it's like, actually you are not weak. It takes a lot of strength to go around. And I love a quote that Lao Tzu was writing long time ago, and he said, stand still like a mountain and flow like a river. So I find this is very important. The mountain is the plan, and your strength, and flowing like a river is the flexibility that we all need to have to reach what we want to reach.
Interesting. Very nice. So two things, Makaran, what reminds me when Carmen said this is that, in whether it is a sport, or whether it is any endurance event, or whether it is corporate life, I think, planning is in our control, but what happens to it is not in our control. So again, what is in our control is to adapt and to be flexible, right? And the next thing is very important, which every good coach says, is that trust your plan, trust your training. So I remember I was so anxious before the race, and my coach was there with me, and I said, I'll tell you only one thing: trust your training. You have trained, you have not missed a single training. So training will take you out. So that's very, very interesting. Yeah. Yes, back.
Lovely. It's amazing. I think the superb examples by both of you, and I think, like I said, this one was where I was going to soak in and learn. and lovely. I think the quote which you spoke about, Lao Tzu, mountain and river. I think that's my biggest takeaway, that I can't just be a mountain personally. Everybody of us can also be a river, and a river flows. So lovely.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for joining in. Looking forward to the next one. Stay healthy, stay safe.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.